Brandon Cooper sat in the back row of the lecture hall, his datapad open in front of him. The lecture hall was massive, designed to accommodate over 200 students from dozens of different species. Some floated in special tanks. Others sat in chairs designed for their unique body shapes. A few hung from the ceiling supports, their species preferring that orientation. Professor Velther moved across the front of the room on 6 legs, each step precise and measured. The Gvalish professor was considered one of the best xenobiology teachers in the entire galactic university system. His skin shifted colors as he lectured, displaying images and data directly on his surface. Today we discuss planetary classification and the limits of biological adaptation, Professor Velther said. His voice came through the universal translator, calm and confident. Many students ask why so few worlds support complex life. The answer is simple. Most worlds are too hostile. Brandon took notes while the professor continued. He had been at Station Kepler 7 for 3 months now, one of only 15 humans in the entire university. The exchange program was new, and he wanted to make a good impression. We categorize planets by their danger levels, the professor explained. A holographic display appeared above him, showing a chart. Class 1 worlds are garden worlds. Mild weather, low gravity, stable ecosystems. Most of you come from Class 1 or Class 2 worlds. Several students nodded their various heads or appendages. Class 3 worlds have moderate challenges. Seasonal variations, slightly higher gravity, some dangerous predators. These worlds produce tougher species, yes, but still within normal parameters. The professor's skin color shifted to a dark red. Then we have Deathworlds, Class 4 and Class 5 planets. These are worlds that should not support complex life at all. Extreme temperatures, dangerous radiation, violent weather, and most critically, crushing gravity. Brandon leaned forward. This was getting interesting. No sentient species has ever evolved on a true death world, Professor Velther stated. It is biologically impossible. Any world with gravity above 1.2 times standard is classified as a death world. The stress on bone structure, the cardiovascular demands, the energy requirements are simply too great. The professor displayed images of several high-gravity worlds. We have tried to colonize such places. Every attempt has failed. Even with exoskeletons and medical support, species cannot survive long-term exposure to such conditions. The body breaks down, bones fracture, hearts fail. A Tavari student raised one of her 4 arms. What about short-term visits, Professor? Possible, but only with extensive support systems, Velther replied. And even then, no more than a few hours. The biological cost is too high. Evolution has placed hard limits on what is possible. We must accept these limits. Brandon raised his hand. Professor Velther's eyes, all 4 of them, focused on the human. Yes, Student Cooper? I have a question about the Death World classification, Brandon said. You mentioned 1.2 times standard gravity as the threshold. What is standard gravity based on? An excellent question, the professor said. Standard gravity is based on the average of all spacefaring civilizations. It comes to approximately 0.85 of what we call a G unit. This is the comfortable range for most species. Brandon nodded slowly. And Earth's gravity? Your homeworld? Let me check. The professor's skin flickered as he accessed data. Ah, yes. Earth is listed at 1.0 G units. Slightly above standard, but within acceptable Class 2 parameters. Professor, I think there might be an error in the classification, Brandon said carefully. The classroom went quiet. Challenging a professor, especially one as respected as Velther, was not common. An error? The professor's skin shifted to a curious purple. Explain. Many species we've met consider Earth gravity to be in the Deathworld range, Brandon said. "We've had alien visitors who needed support equipment just to walk around." A Resh student behind Brandon made a sound like laughter. "Humans always exaggerate. You look weak compared to most species here." Several other students made sounds of agreement. Professor Velther held up one of his front legs for silence. "Student Cooper, I understand that species often take pride in their homeworlds, but the data is clear. Humans are not particularly robust physically. Your bone density is average. Your muscle structure is standard. There is no indication that Earth is anything other than a comfortable Class 2 world." "With respect, Professor, I disagree," Brandon said. "I've been living on this station for 3 months. The gravity here feels light to me. I looked it up. Station Kepler 7 runs at 0.6 standard G." "Yes, that is correct," Velther confirmed. "It is comfortable for most species." "Are you saying it is uncomfortable for you?" "No, sir. I'm saying it's too light. I feel like I'm going to float away sometimes. Back home, everything weighs more." A Quellan student to Brandon's left spoke up. "That is impossible. If Earth had true high gravity, humans would be built differently. You would be shorter, denser, stronger. But you are tall and thin. Your structure makes no sense for a high-gravity world." "Humans are built for endurance, not bulk," Brandon replied. "We evolved to move efficiently in our gravity." Professor Velther's skin returned to his normal blue color. "Student Cooper, I appreciate your enthusiasm for your homeworld. However, biological facts do not change based on pride. The records are clear. No species can survive true Deathworld gravity for extended periods. If Earth had such gravity, you would not exist." "Then the records are wrong about Earth's classification," Brandon said. The professor made a sound the translator interpreted as a sigh. "Very well. If you are so confident, I propose a demonstration. Next class session, we will use the gravity simulation chamber. You will show us these supposed human abilities. If you can perform basic tasks at 1.3 G, I will personally review Earth's classification." "I accept," Brandon said immediately. "Excellent. We meet again in 3 days. I will arrange for the chamber and proper safety equipment." Professor Velther looked around the room. "This will be educational for all of you. You will see firsthand why we cannot simply believe every claim about homeworld conditions." The lecture continued, but Brandon barely heard it. He sent a quick message to his friend Lisa back on Earth. She was going to love this. When class ended, other students gave Brandon looks ranging from pity to amusement. A few approached him. "You should withdraw the challenge," a kind Telvari student said. "The professor is trying to teach you a lesson. Do not injure yourself for pride." "I'll be fine," Brandon assured her. A Resh student laughed. "Humans, always thinking they are special. This will be fun to watch." Brandon gathered his things and headed out. He had 3 days to prepare. Not that he needed much preparation. He just needed to show up and be himself. As he walked down the corridor toward his quarters, he thought about home. He missed Earth's proper gravity. He missed feeling grounded. For 3 months, he had been careful, moving slowly so he did not accidentally jump too high or push things too hard. Maybe it was time to stop being so careful. He smiled. Professor Velther had no idea what he had just agreed to. Neither did any of the other students. They were about to learn something important about humans. Sometimes the quiet ones were the strongest. Brandon sat in his quarters that evening, his communication screen showing Lisa's face. She was in her apartment back in Seattle, and judging by the light outside her window, it was morning there. "So let me get this straight," Lisa said, grinning. "You challenged your professor to prove humans can handle high gravity?" "He challenged me, technically," Brandon replied. "But yes, this is amazing. What are you going to do?" "I was hoping you might have ideas." "You're the athletic one. Lisa had been a track runner in college. She understood physical performance better than Brandon did. "Don't try to show off with strength," she said. "That's not what makes humans special. Show endurance. Do something that requires sustained effort. That's what freaks other species out about us." "Like what?" "Run. Jog for 20 minutes at higher gravity. Or do a full workout routine. Other species can do short bursts of power, but we keep going. That's the human advantage." Brandon nodded. That made sense. "Thanks, Lisa. I'll think about it. Send me video of their faces when you do it," she said, laughing. "I want to see the professor's reaction." After ending the call, Brandon decided to visit the station medical center. If he was going to do this demonstration, he should make sure he was healthy. He also wanted to understand what the aliens thought about human biology. Dr. Amy Chun was the only human physician on station, Kepler 7. She worked with a staff of various alien medical professionals, teaching them about human anatomy. When Brandon arrived, she was explaining something to a Tilvari nurse. "Brandon," Amy said, looking up. "What brings you here?" "I need a checkup. And maybe some advice." Amy led him to an examination room. As she ran scans, Brandon explained about the challenge. Amy listened, her expression shifting from surprise to amused. "Of course you did," she said. "Let me guess. They think Earth is a normal gravity world? Apparently, we're classified as Class 2, comfortable and safe." Amy laughed. "The medical staff here think the same thing. Watch this." She called her Tilvari assistant over. "Nurse Pelmoth, can you bring up the human bone density scans we did last week?" The nurse brought up a holographic display. "These readings still seem wrong to me, doctor. The density is too high." "They're normal for humans," Amy said. "Our bones have to be stronger because of our homeworld." Pelmoth's 4 eyes blinked in confusion. "But Earth is listed as low-stress environment. Why would you evolve such dense bones?" "That's what we're trying to explain," Amy said patiently. "Earth is not low stress." The nurse looked skeptical, but said nothing. After Pelmoth left, Amy turned to Brandon. "See what I deal with? They have all this data about human physiology, but they don't connect it to our environment. Our cardiovascular system alone should tell them something." "What do you mean?" "Our hearts are powerful. Our lungs are efficient. Our muscles have different fiber compositions than most species here. We're built for sustained activity in challenging conditions. But because we don't look bulky or armored, they assume we're fragile." Brandon thought about this. "So what should I do for the demonstration?" "Be yourself. Don't try to impress them with stunts. Just do normal human things. That will be impressive enough." The next day, Brandon went to the cargo bay. He had heard there were other humans working there, and he wanted to talk to them. He found Greg Hammond supervising a loading crew. Greg was a big man, over 6 feet tall, with arms thick from years of manual labor. He was directing a mixed crew of humans and aliens as they loaded containers onto transport vehicles. "You must be the university kid," Greg said when Brandon approached. "Heard about your challenge. Good for you. I wanted to ask about working here. Do you have any problems with the gravity?" Greg snorted. "Problems? Kid, we have the opposite problem. Everything is too light. We have to be careful not to break things." He pointed to a stack of containers. "See those? Each one weighs about 200 pounds in standard station gravity. The aliens use powered loaders to move them. We just lift them." Brandon watched as a human worker picked up one of the containers and carried it across the bay. An alien observer made a note on a datapad. "They study us," Greg said. "They can't figure out how we do it. To them, those containers are heavy. To us, they feel like moving boxes on Earth, maybe a bit lighter. Does anyone say anything?" "Oh, they notice. but they think we're using some kind of enhancement. They don't believe it's just us. Greg clapped Brandon on the shoulder. Your demonstration will open some eyes. Show them what a normal human can do. On his way back to his quarters, Brandon noticed something he had never paid attention to before. Many of the aliens on the station used mobility assistants. Some had small floating platforms. Others wore powered exoskeletons. A few moved very slowly and carefully, as if each step required thought. He had assumed these were medical devices or personal preferences. Now he realized the truth. The station's 0.6 G gravity was comfortable for most species, but it was still work for them. They needed help. Brandon had been living in reduced gravity for 3 months without any assistance at all. He had been moving carefully because he felt too light, not because he felt too heavy. The realization was strange. That evening, he checked the university network. A message board had been created about the demonstration. Students were posting their predictions. Most thought Brandon would fail. A few thought he might manage a few minutes before exhausting himself. Some were placing bets. One post caught his attention. It was from Professor Velther. I have reviewed the data on Earth again. The measurements seem consistent across multiple sources. However, I believe there may be an error in how humans report their homeworld conditions. It is possible they measure gravity differently, or that they exaggerate for cultural reasons. The demonstration will clarify this. I expect Student Cooper to perform adequately at 1.3 G for a brief time before needing to stop. This is not a criticism of humans. It is simply biological reality. No species can casually function in true Deathworld conditions. Brandon read the post twice. The professor had researched. He had looked at the data, but he still did not believe it. He thought there must be some explanation that fit his understanding of biology. Brandon composed a reply, then deleted it. Words would not convince anyone. He would let his actions speak. The next 2 days passed slowly. Brandon continued his normal routine, attending classes, studying, eating at the cafeteria. Other students pointed at him sometimes. A few approached him with questions. Are you nervous? A Quallen student asked. No, Brandon said honestly. You should be. High gravity is dangerous. Brandon just smiled. The morning of the demonstration arrived. Brandon ate a normal breakfast, did some light stretching, and headed to the lecture hall. The room was packed. Word had spread beyond his class. Students from other departments had come to watch. Some professors stood in the back, curious about the challenge. Professor Velther was already there, checking equipment with Station Administrator Thelonix, who looked worried. Student Cooper, Thelonix said. I must warn you. The gravity chamber can cause injury if you are not careful. We have medical teams standing by. If you feel any pain or discomfort, you must stop immediately. I understand, Brandon said. I mean it, Thelonix insisted. Bone fractures, muscle tears, cardiovascular stress, these are all real dangers. There is no shame in withdrawing. I'll be fine. Professor Velther approached. I want to be clear about the parameters. You will attempt basic movements at 1.3 G for up to 10 minutes. That is already pushing the safe limits for your species. Do not attempt to continue past your breaking point. Brandon nodded. Can I suggest something different? What do you mean? Instead of 10 minutes, give me 30. And instead of 1.3 G, let's start there and go higher. The professor's skin shifted to a surprised yellow. That would be extremely dangerous. I know my limits, Brandon said. Trust me. The professor considered this. Very well. But we will monitor you closely. At the first sign of distress, we stop. Agreed? Agreed. Brandon walked toward the gravity chamber while hundreds of eyes watched him. He was about to show them something they had never seen before. He was about to show them what a human could do. The video of Brandon's demonstration spread through the galactic network within hours. Nicole's article appeared on news feeds across multiple systems. By the next morning, Brandon's inbox was full of messages from people he had never met. Some were congratulatory. Many were curious. A few were skeptical, claiming the demonstration must have been faked somehow. But the official university recordings proved everything had been real. Brandon sat in the cafeteria 3 days later, trying to eat breakfast while ignoring the stares. Other students kept glancing at him, then looking away quickly when he noticed. A message appeared on his datapad. It was from Professor Velther, asking him to come to his office. When Brandon arrived, he found the professor surrounded by papers and data files. The office was a mess, completely different from its usual organized state. "Student Cooper, thank you for coming," Velther said. His skin was a tired gray. "I have been reviewing everything we know about Earth. The data has been there all along. Ocean pressure at depth, mountain heights, atmospheric density, storm intensities. All of it points to a high-gravity, high-energy world. I simply dismissed it as measurement inconsistencies." "You weren't the only one," Brandon said. "Most species seem to think Earth is normal." "Because humans do not complain," Velther replied. "You adapt quietly. You use our facilities without comment, even when they must be uncomfortable for you." He paused. "I am writing a formal apology to be published in the Xenobiology Journal, and I am requesting permission to completely revise 3 chapters of the standard textbook. I appreciate that, Professor. More than that, I am requesting you as a teaching assistant for next semester. If you are willing. Students need to learn from primary sources, not outdated assumptions." Brandon agreed. It felt strange to go from being challenged to being asked to teach, but he understood the professor's reasoning. That afternoon, Brandon received another visitor. Commander Jake Peterson arrived on the station, representing Earth's military liaison office. He was an older man with gray hair and a serious expression. "Brandon Cooper?" Jake said, finding him in the library. "I'm Commander Peterson. Mind if we talk?" They found a private study room. Jake sat down heavily and looked at Brandon with an expression that was half amused, half concerned. "You've caused quite a stir," Jake said. "The Galactic Council is suddenly very interested in human military capabilities. I just demonstrated normal human abilities." "I know. That's what worries them." Jake pulled up a document on his datapad. "We've received 3 formal inquiries in the last 2 days. They want to know about our ship designs, our soldier training, our combat capabilities. They're realizing that if a regular university student can casually operate at nearly twice standard gravity, what can our soldiers do? Are they scared of us? Some are. Others see opportunities. There's a mining consortium that wants to hire human workers for high-gravity extraction operations. An exploration company wants human scouts for Deathworld surveys. And the Galactic Defense Council wants to discuss joint military exercises." Brandon had not considered these implications. "What does Earth say?" "We're being careful. We don't want to seem threatening, but we also don't want to be taken advantage of." Jake leaned back. "Your demonstration was good for human-galactic relations in the long run, but it's complicated in the short term. Over the next week, things continued to change rapidly. Dr. Ryan Mitchell arrived from Earth, a xenobiologist who specialized in comparative anatomy. He gave a series of guest lectures that packed the auditorium. Brandon attended one of them. Ryan stood at the front of the room, a holographic image of Earth rotating behind him. "Let me tell you about Earth," Ryan said. "We have deserts where the temperature reaches 134 degrees Fahrenheit. We have places where it drops to minus 128 degrees. We have ocean trenches deeper than mountains are tall. We have storms with winds over 200 miles per hour. We have radiation from our sun that would damage many species. The audience listened in silence. And yet, Ryan continued, humans live in all these places. We have cities in deserts and settlements in frozen tundra. We dive to ocean depths and climb the highest mountains. We adapt. That's what humans do. A student raised a hand. But how? How does one species manage such extreme diversity? Because Earth forced us to evolve versatility, Ryan explained. Our planet has multiple climate zones, frequent environmental changes, and diverse ecosystems. We didn't evolve for one perfect environment. We evolved to handle many different environments. That's why we seem physically average. We're generalists, not specialists. After the lecture, Ryan found Brandon. I heard you started all this. Good work. I just answered a question in class. Sometimes, that's all it takes to change perspectives. Ryan smiled. I've got meetings with the university administration. They want to create an entire new department focused on Deathworld biology. Earth biology, specifically. Ambassador Kate Sullivan arrived on the station a few days later. She was a professional diplomat, calm and precise in her words. Brandon was asked to attend a meeting with her and several station officials. The Galactic Council has questions, Kate explained. They want to know why Earth never mentioned the gravity discrepancy when we joined the galactic community. We did mention it, Brandon said. Didn't we? We provided accurate data, Kate confirmed. But apparently, no one believed it. They thought it was a measurement error or cultural exaggeration. Human representatives assumed the data spoke for itself. Station Administrator Kevin Shore, a human who had been on Kepler-7 for years, spoke up. I never thought to make a big deal about it. The light gravity was annoying, but I adapted. I thought everyone knew Earth was higher gravity. They knew the numbers, Kate said. They just didn't understand what the numbers meant in practical terms. A Tovari Council representative asked, what other aspects of human biology have we misunderstood? Kate looked at Ryan, who had joined the meeting. He thought for a moment. Wow, Ryan said. Humans have better endurance than most species. We can regulate our temperature through sweating, which is apparently rare. We heal relatively quickly. We can survive on a very diverse diet. We have good pattern recognition and problem-solving abilities. We're persistently curious, sometimes to a fault. And we bond easily with other species, even ones very different from us. This persistence, the representative said. Is that a common human trait? Very common, Kate replied. Humans don't give up easily. It's probably our most defining characteristic. The meeting continued for hours, covering everything from human dietary needs to social behaviors. Brandon answered questions about daily life on Earth, trying to explain things he had always taken for granted. By the end, the Tovari representative looked overwhelmed. We need to completely reassess our understanding of your species. This will take time. We're patient, Kate said. We understand that first impressions can be misleading. That evening, Brandon returned to his quarters to find a message from Lisa. You're famous, our message said. Everyone back home is talking about the gravity demonstration. They're calling you the guy who proved humans are Deathworlders. How does it feel? Brandon recorded a reply. Weird. I didn't do anything special. I just showed up and was myself. But as he thought about it, maybe that was the point. Being human was special. He just had never realized it. He had grown up on Earth where everything felt normal. Here, among aliens, he could see his species from the outside. Humans were strong. Not because they tried to be, but because they had to be. Earth had made them that way, and now the galaxy was beginning to understand. The gravity chamber stood in the center of the lecture hall, a transparent cylinder about 20 feet across. Equipment lined the walls inside, Simple things like weights, a running track marked on the floor, and some basic exercise bars. Outside the cylinder, monitoring stations displayed life signs and environmental data. Brandon stood at the entrance while Danny Foster, a human engineer, did final safety checks. "You sure about this?" Danny asked quietly. "Completely sure." "All right then. Show them what we've got." Danny grinned and opened the chamber door. Brandon stepped inside. The door sealed behind him with a soft sound. He stood in the center and looked out at the crowd. The lecture hall was more packed than before. He saw students sitting in the aisles. Faculty members lined the back wall. Even Dean Corvish had arrived, his tall frame visible above the others. A human woman with a camera moved along the front row. Nicole Wright was a journalist for the station news service. She had asked to document the event, and Professor Velther had agreed. The professor's voice came through speakers. "We will begin at 1.3G. Student Cooper, please confirm you are ready." "Ready," Brandon said. "Increasing gravity now." Brandon felt the change immediately. Weight returned to his body. His feet pressed more firmly against the floor. It felt good, like coming home after a long trip. He took a few steps, then walked in a circle around the chamber. Outside, he heard surprised murmurs. "He is moving normally," someone said. "Perhaps 1.3 is not enough," another voice suggested. Brandon looked at Professor Velther. "I'm ready for more whenever you are." The professor's skin flickered between colors. Increasing to 1.5G. More weight settled onto Brandon. This was closer to Earth normal, maybe slightly above. He felt comfortable. He started jogging around the chamber's track, his pace steady and even. The murmurs outside grew louder. "This cannot be correct," a Resh student said. "Check the equipment." Danny checked his monitors. "Equipment is working perfectly. He's really experiencing 1.5G. Brandon jogged for 2 full minutes, then stopped and did some jumping jacks. His movements were controlled and easy. He picked up one of the weights from the floor, a solid metal bar designed for strength testing. It was marked as 50 pounds. In 1.5G, it felt like 75 pounds. He lifted it over his head several times. Dean Corvish leaned toward Professor Velther. "Is this normal for humans?" "I do not know," the professor admitted. His skin had turned a confused gray color. The data suggested they were average in strength and endurance. "That is not average," the dean said. Nicole moved closer to the chamber, her camera focused on Brandon. "How do you feel?" she called out. "Good," Brandon replied. "A bit heavy, but manageable." Professor Velder's voice was strained. "Would you like to attempt 1.8G? "Yes, please. This is beyond safe limits, Student Cooper." "I know my limits better than the charts do," Brandon said. The gravity increased again. Brandon felt it this time, a real pressure. His breathing deepened. Moving required more effort. This was above Earth normal, into actual high-gravity territory. He walked slowly around the chamber, adjusting to the feeling. Then he dropped to the floor and started doing push-ups. 1, 2, 3. He counted to 20 before stopping. The lecture hall was silent now. Every eye watched him. Brandon stood up, breathing harder but still controlled. "This is about where it gets challenging," he said. "Earth is at 1.0G for reference. So this is almost twice what you call standard gravity." A Tovari professor stood up in shock. "Earth is at 1.0G, but standard is 0.85G. That means Earth is well above comfortable range." "Yes," Brandon said simply. "But you've been living on this station at 0.6G, the professor continued, "for 3 months, without any support equipment. Yes, you must have felt like you were floating, pretty much." Professor Velther spoke into his communicator. "Danny, Confirm the gravity readings one more time. Danny checked his instruments again. 1.8 G. Confirmed. His heart rate is elevated but stable. Blood pressure is high, but within what I am guessing are human norms. He shows no signs of distress. The dean moved to stand beside Professor Velther. What does this mean for our understanding of human biology? It means we were wrong, Velther said quietly. Very wrong. Brandon jogged another lap around the chamber, slower this time, but still moving. Each step required conscious effort, but he managed. He had run in worse conditions back home. Wearing a weighted vest during training. After 5 minutes at 1.8 G, he stopped and looked at the professor. Want to go higher? No, Velther said quickly. No, that is enough. I am concerned for your safety. I could do 2.0 G if you want proof. That will not be necessary. I believe you. The professor paused. Please return to normal station gravity. You have made your point. The gravity decreased gradually. As it dropped back to 0.6 G, Brandon felt himself become light again. He bent his knees and jumped, going much higher than he intended. He landed lightly, then walked to the chamber door. When he stepped out, the lecture hall erupted in noise. Students were talking over each other. Some were checking datapads. Others were arguing about what they had just seen. Dean Corvish approached Brandon. Student Cooper, I must ask, do all humans have this capability? This is normal for us, Brandon said. I'm not special. I'm just a regular guy who goes to the gym sometimes. Regular, the dean repeated. You consider this regular? Back on Earth, yeah. Some humans are way stronger and tougher than me. Athletes, soldiers, construction workers. I'm average at best. A Quellen student called out, Then why do you look so fragile? You are tall and thin. You do not have heavy bones or thick muscles like species from high-gravity worlds. We're built for efficiency, Brandon explained. Our bodies are designed for endurance and adaptability, not just surviving in one environment. We can function in high gravity, low gravity, different temperatures, various atmospheres. We evolved to handle a changing world. Professor Velther approached slowly. His skin was a pale blue, a color Brandon had never seen before. Student Cooper, I owe you an apology. I allowed my assumptions to override the data. This is a failure of scientific thinking. It's okay, Professor. How could you know if no one told you? The data was there. I simply did not believe it could be accurate. Velther turned to the class. Let this be a lesson to all of you. Assumptions are the death of science. We must follow evidence, even when it contradicts what we think we know. Nicole stopped recording and approached Brandon. Can I ask you some questions for an article? Sure. How long could you have continued at 1.8 G? Brandon thought about it. Maybe an hour? After that, I would need rest and food. It's tiring, but not impossible. And you have been living at reduced gravity for months. Has that been difficult? Annoying more than difficult. I have to move carefully so I don't break things or jump too high. I miss Earth's gravity. It feels right. Nicole made notes on her datapad. This is going to be major news. The galactic community has completely misunderstood human capabilities. Dean Corvish was speaking with several professors, their voices intense. Brandon caught fragments of the conversation. We need to revise the classification system. Human ships must run at higher gravity than we thought. No wonder they seemed uncomfortable in our facilities. We should offer them proper accommodations. Greg Hammond appeared from somewhere in the crowd, laughing. Told you it would be good, he said to Brandon. You should see the cargo bay right now. Everyone is talking about it. Brandon felt tired suddenly. The demonstration had taken more out of him than he wanted to admit. At 1.8 g, his body had been working hard. Now, in the light gravity, he felt drained. "I need to sit down," he said. Dr. Amy Chun appeared beside him. "Come on, let's get you checked out properly." As Brandon left the lecture hall with Amy, he heard Professor Velther addressing the class. "Today's demonstration has changed our understanding of human biology. We will spend the next several sessions revising what we thought we knew. And we will remember that science requires humility. We must always be willing to be proven wrong." Brandon smiled. One simple demonstration had shifted everything. He wondered what else the galaxy had wrong about humans. 6 months had passed since the demonstration. Brandon stood at the front of a classroom, a teaching assistant badge on his shirt, helping Professor Velther explain human cardiovascular systems to a new group of students. The classroom itself had changed. Half of it now had adjustable gravity flooring. Students could experience different gravity levels while remaining safely seated. It was one of many modifications made throughout the university. "The human heart is designed for high pressure output," Brandon explained, pointing to a holographic model. "It has to push blood against stronger gravity than most species experience. That's why it seems overpowered when we measure it by standard metrics." A young Resh student raised her hand. "Is it true that humans can run for hours without stopping?" "Yes," Brandon said. "We evolved as persistence hunters. We would chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. Most animals are faster than us in short bursts, but we outlast them over distance." The student's eyes went wide. "That sounds terrifying." Professor Velther made a sound like laughter. "Humans are terrifying in many ways once you understand them, but they are also reliable friends and allies. Remember that biology is not destiny. Capability does not equal intent." After class, Brandon walked through the station toward the human section. That was new too. 6 months ago, there had been scattered human quarters throughout Kepler-7. Now there was a dedicated human area, running at 1.0 g, with proper facilities designed for human needs. More humans had arrived. The exchange program had expanded. There were now over 60 humans on the station, including families. Children played in parks designed with Earth-level gravity and Earth-style equipment. Brandon passed the gymnasium, where Megan Walsh was teaching a mixed-species exercise class. Through the window, he could see aliens wearing support equipment, slowly learning to build strength in higher gravity environments. "Come on," Megan was saying to a struggling Quellen. 5 more steps. "You can do it." The Quellen managed 3 more steps at 0.9 g before stopping, breathing hard. But the fact that he was trying at all showed how much had changed. Brandon continued to the administration offices. Tony Brennan had arrived 2 months ago as a colony coordinator. He was meeting with representatives from 3 different species about joint colonization projects. "Ah, Brandon," Tony called out. "Perfect timing. Can you explain the Earth gravity zones concept to our friends here?" Brandon joined the meeting. On the table was a holographic display of a planet designated as Kepler 452c. It was a beautiful world, rich in resources, but with 1.4 g gravity. It had been considered uninhabitable. Humans can work comfortably at up to 1.5 g for extended periods," Brandon explained. "Some of us prefer it. This world would be challenging but manageable." A Tilvari representative spoke up. "But we cannot survive such gravity. How would this be a joint colony?" Tony pointed to different regions on the planet. "Variable gravity housing. We build in zones. Lowland areas for humans and high-gravity adapted species. Island areas with lower gravity for species like yours. We use elevation differences to create natural gravity variations. And humans would do the heavy industrial work?" Akloish asked. We would handle high-gravity operations, yes. But it's not just labor. It's partnership. You bring your technology and knowledge. We bring our physical capabilities. Together we make it work. The representatives looked at each other. 6 months ago, they would have dismissed this as impossible. Now they were considering it seriously. Brandon left them to their negotiations and headed to the cargo bay. Greg Hammond was training a new crew, teaching them proper lifting techniques. The key is leg strength, Greg was saying to a young human worker. Let your legs do the work, not your back. Even in light gravity, good form matters. He spotted Brandon and waved. Hey, professor's assistant. How's the teaching life? Good. Different from what I expected when I came here. Yeah, you kind of changed everything, didn't you? Greg laughed. We used to be the quiet species that nobody paid attention to. Now everyone wants to hire humans for difficult jobs. Is that good or bad? Depends. Good money, good opportunities. But we need to be careful not to become just the muscle. We're more than that. Brandon understood. Humanity was finding a niche in the galactic community, but it was important to define that role carefully. They were not just strong bodies. They were problem solvers, bridge builders, pioneers. That evening, Brandon had dinner with Lisa, who had arrived on the station 2 weeks ago as part of the expanded exchange program. This place is amazing, she said, looking around the human section cafeteria. When you first came here, you were one of 15 humans. Now there's a whole community. It happened fast, Brandon agreed. Sometimes I forget what it was like before. You started it, you know? One demonstration changed everything. Brandon thought about that. I just raised my hand in class. I just answered a question. Sometimes that's enough. Lisa smiled. You were honest about who we are. That's all it took. Later, Brandon received a message on his datapad. It was from a deep space exploration company. They were planning an expedition to survey high-gravity worlds in the outer rim. They wanted human consultants. We recognize that humans have unique capabilities for extreme environment assessment, the message read. Your species can access worlds we cannot. We believe this partnership would benefit both sides. Please consider joining our survey team. Brandon stared at the message. 6 months ago, he had been a student hoping to learn about other species. Now he was being recruited as an expert in his own right. He forwarded the message to Commander Peterson with a note asking for advice. The reply came quickly. Your choice, but opportunities like this are good for Earth's reputation. Show them what humans can do. Just be safe. Brandon sat back and thought about his future. He could finish his degree here and return to Earth. Or he could take risks, explore new worlds, show the galaxy what humanity had to offer. He thought about Professor Velther, who had learned to question his assumptions. He thought about the students who now studied human biology with respect instead of dismissal. He thought about the aliens learning to exercise in higher gravity, pushing their own limits. One demonstration had changed how the galaxy saw humanity. What could a lifetime of work accomplish? Brandon sent a reply to the exploration company. I'm interested. Tell me more about the mission. As he prepared for bed that night, he looked out the window of his quarters. Stars filled the view, countless worlds waiting to be explored. Some of those worlds were too harsh for most species, but not for humans. Professor Velther had been right about one thing. No species should survive Deathworld gravity. It should be impossible, but humans had never been good at accepting impossible. Brandon smiled and closed the window shade. Tomorrow he would talk to the exploration company. Tomorrow he would plan his next steps. Tomorrow he would continue showing the galaxy what humans could do. But tonight, he would rest in proper Earth gravity in a community of his own people. On a station that had learned to accommodate human needs. It felt like home. And that, Brandon thought, was the real victory. Not proving humans were strong, but proving they belonged. The galaxy had a place for humanity, not despite their Deathworld origins, but because of them. They were bridge builders. They went where others could not. They did what others thought impossible. They were human. And that was more than enough.